welcome back to HR Talks with Lish, a platform aiming to motivate, inspire and elevate HR interns, undergrads, grads and professionals to help you flourish within your careers. Join me on this journey to success as a HR professional finding her way within the industry and rising to the top. If you're new here, then welcome to the HR Talks with Lish community. Please can you like, comment, subscribe and click that notification bell so that you're always notified every single time I post a video. And without further ado, let's get into today's video. Welcome back to Unlocking HR. And within this series, I'm going to talk to you about my experience as a HR administrator and what I do specifically in my role to help you understand what the role is about in depth and give you a bit more of an idea if you haven't necessarily had any HR experience before on what an HR administrator does. So in today's video, I'm going to be taking you through the day-to-day tasks that I do on a daily basis as an HR administrator. And from today's video, I hope that you can gain some knowledge and understanding about the intricacies of this role that you may not have known or you may not have thought that you may have been expected to do. Let me just put a disclaimer out there and say this is my experience, so every single HR admin job is not exactly the same, but I do think that the majority of HR administrator jobs do take on the tasks and duties that I'm going to be discussing today. So grab a cup of tea, grab some coffee, grab whatever you want to drink, get yourself a notepad and sit tight so we can get into the video. So I'm going to split this video up into 4 different categories: answering employee queries, the HR system and payroll, preparing HR documents and letters, and finally projects that you may be involved in HR. So the first part of today's video is answering employee queries, and this is a very important part of being a HR administrator, as we are the first point of contact when it comes to any kind of administrative duties that employees are asking within the company. So we actually have a system that employees can ask questions and queries which will then go directly to us. And questions can vary from so many different things. We're also measured on these questions that come in, and we're measured by something called SLAs. So SLAs are a service level agreement which is made between the person providing the service and the provider. So in this case, the HR administration team and the employee. And we need to make sure that we're sticking to a specific time frame to make sure we're answering the questions as quickly as possible. So for example, if they stayed in this portal that we have for a very long period of time, then this will have an effect on our SLAs, which is something that we're measured on and it's part of our objectives as HR administrators. So we need to make sure that we're answering questions as quickly as possible. The questions that actually come through to us via this portal may vary. So employees can have questions about absolutely anything surrounding HR queries. So for example, there might be queries about the holiday system. I don't know how to input a holiday day on the system. I don't know how to input a sick day. How do I put through emergency leave? How do I put in an absence? And be around benefits. So we offer a wide range of benefits at the company that I'm at, and some employees want to join a specific benefit. So for example, the private health insurance that we provide, they may want to join that, so they'll put through a request, and then we need to do the relevant administrative tasks in the background to put that request through and then let them know that that's been done and they'll be added to the system. We also give and provide information on what people may not be sure about. So there may be a benefit that someone wants to join but they don't actually know what the benefit's really about. We have a platform internally where we have all the information provided. So sometimes what we do is we lead them to that specific platform to get the correct information. Answering queries is a very important part of our job. It's something that we do on a regular basis because we can get queries any time of the day really. And it's not just this portal that we get queries on. We can also get queries via email. So we may get emails around the same kind of things that I'm talking about. And what we've been doing as well, and what I try and do sometimes, is if I can't answer the question directly via the portal that we have or email, and I think we need to have a clearer conversation about something, I'll pick up the phone and actually give them a call so that we can actually go through the query together. So I think as a HR professional, it's very important to kind of have that communication element about yourself. Like, you need to make sure that you're able to communicate very clearly with employees about all the different policies that we have, about the systems that we have, and if they're using specific systems, how do they access it? You need to know these specific questions to be able to provide a service to the employees, because essentially that's what we're trying to do. We also need to make sure that we're communicating with employees about any changes that happen within the company, to benefits, and if we're implementing anything new into the system, we have to be that point of contact to make sure that everybody is aware of those changes. So the HR system and payroll. So we use a system called PeopleSoft, and I think that this is generic across many like HR departments, and they use this database to keep records of all employee information across the company. So it is very, very important that HR are keeping this up to date, and that is basically what we do as a function. So these databases will include information about an employee from their date of birth to their highest level of education is, national insurance numbers, addresses, and we also keep data about exactly what department they're in within the role that they're in. We keep information about their compensation, when the probation date ends, their working hours, whether they work full-time or part-time, whether they're permanent or temporary, any kind of changes that you can think of. That is what is held within this database, and there are times throughout the year where, to be honest, on a regular basis, where we need to keep this up to date. So for example, the emails from people within different departments in the company come into this, because sometimes we get emails from managers to tell us that the structure of their organization is changing, so we have to go into the system and change, for example, an employee's manager. So somebody may be changing manager, somebody may be changing co-manager, they may be changing to a completely different department, they may be changing their working hours. So if they're changing their working hours, we have to go into the system and we have to change, let's say they're working full-time to part-time, 40 hours to 32 hours. All of this affects the system, and all of this has to be inputted, which is why working within HR and as an administrator is very important to pay attention to detail, because a little slip up that you make in this database could have a detrimental effect on the other departments that use and rely on the information we put in the database to, let's say, pay out bonuses, for example. So that's the database, and it's really crucial that everything is right in there. Even if someone's changing job role, we have to input the change in job role into the system, and we need to make sure that the effective dates are correct. So let's say the manager says, oh, they've changed this job from the 1st of July. You need to make sure that from the 1st of July, this change has been made and saved, because it has an effect on everything. Like, everything has a knock-on effect in HR. So within the payroll system as well, you've got to make changes to that too on a regular basis and keep up to date with everything. When it comes to changes in terms of holiday and any kind of leave, whether it be paid or unpaid leave, the employees actually have access, in my company anyway, to change these. So they can go into the system on their end and they can add that they want holiday on a specific day, for example, and then that will go through to the manager, who will approve it, and then that will be confirmed on the whole database. And on my side, I'll be able to see that that's been confirmed. But there are times where, as I said before, and this is the queries that we get, where people may not be necessarily able to change holiday because there's an error in the system, or they're just unable to put it in. So we as HR administrators will have to do that inputting process instead. So I can go into the system and I can add holiday on for somebody if I've got the approval of the manager to do so. And with sickness as well, in my company, sickness is actually put in by the manager, so the employee can't do it. But if the manager's having difficulty with putting in the sickness, I will then be able to go into the records and put in the sickness for them and have it confirmed and everything. Also, when it comes to like maternity leave, shared parental leave, this will need to be inputted in the system, because obviously like the pay rates change. So we need to make sure that we are inputting that, you know, a certain person's gone into maternity or paternity leave. Also, if somebody needs to put through a lieu request, so lieu is basically if you have worked over your contracted hours, you can actually put in a lieu request to get that time back, but this is usually if you've worked on a weekend, so on Saturday or Sunday. What happens is they will put through a request to say, I've, you know, done this many hours on Saturday, and then we have to confirm that. So you've got to actually like know like what the rule is and is it acceptable for me to accept this or decline this? But if it gets accepted, usually what we do is then input that data into the system, and then that will show up on their side that they have lieu time that they can then take off whenever they need to. So yes, we have to do a lot of little manual changes as HR administrators within all the different databases that we have. Another thing that I didn't really mention as well, what we're responsible for is like running reports and stuff. So for example, we have to run like holiday reports to understand what's going on in terms of patterns with holidays. So are people taking their holiday? Are they not taking it? Are managers ensuring that their teams are taking their holiday? So we can look at patterns like that to see, are they actually encouraging them to take holiday? And then from that data, we can see what we need to do to improve that or ensure that people are taking their holidays and looking after their mental health and well-being. And there's other reports that we also pull as well. So there'll be reports that we have to pull to gather information for the different benefits that we have. So with the benefits that we have, there's like renewals every single year. And obviously the data in terms of employees that we have will change year on year. So we need to make sure that we're providing up-to-date information to these providers to make sure that they've got all the details needed to keep the benefit going and make sure everything's up to date. And also for these benefits, obviously it comes with a price. So we have to do like purchase orders as well behind the scenes to make sure that we're paying the providers of these benefits the correct amounts of money to keep having the benefit running for us as a company. So there's a lot of like things that you have to make sure that you are aware is going to be changing. So with renewals, we need to make sure, oh, okay, we know that on the 1st of July, this benefit's renewing. Like let's say private health insurance is renewing, or if we've got a dental care plan, that's going to be renewing. So we need to make sure, have we got all the information in order for the provider? Have we paid the provider? The payroll part of the processes is that if, for example, somebody is added onto the private health insurance, as I mentioned before, then what we need to do is add this into our payroll folder so that as payroll specialist is able to see that this new person has been added to the private health insurance from the 1st of July, because then they need to add that onto the system. Payroll needs to be aware of that change. If there's a change in working hours, so if there's a flexible working request change, obviously payroll need to know about that. This is definitely something as a HR administrator that you need to make sure that you are accurately doing. Also, if we're getting emails about bonuses that are going to be paid in a certain month, we need to make sure that that is communicated and put into the payroll folder. If we've got new starters or leavers, the payroll specialist needs to know about that, because obviously they need to be set up on the system. Their salaries need to put in. If they're getting car allowance, that needs to be put in. If they're getting any kind of bonuses or welcome packages or anything, we need to know all of this information so that they are getting the correct amounts on their pay slips. So this leads me on to preparing HR documents and letters. So as HR administrators, we will be putting out a lot of different letters in terms of changes to contracts that have been implemented. So for example, if somebody is changing job role, then we need to be typing up and drafting a letter to send this out to the individual employee so we can get their signature and save that on file. If we get an email from a company saying that we need to give a reference check for somebody, we need to be, drafting out a letter based on the reference check to be sent back to that employer. So we also do letters for like flexible working requests, as I've been mentioning a lot. So the change of working hours, if somebody gets a salary increase as well, if there's a confirmation of probation, for example, whether it's an extension or if they've passed their probation, if there's like a consultation that's taking place and we need to put out the right information to the employee. All of these different letters are something that we as HR administrators will draft. A lot of the times, we do have templates that we can use, so we can just input the correct information to the templates and then send them out to make our lives easier. But some letters we might need to draft from scratch, maybe if it's something that, is different to what we usually do. But it is an important part of the role, getting out these letters to employees to make sure that they are aware of the changes to their contract and they've got it in writing that there's a confirmation there. And on the upside, we are also included in a load of projects. So for example, I was included in a diversity and inclusion week that we had earlier on in March, where we had different pillars in regards to different areas of diversity and inclusion that we wanted to look at. Another thing that I do within the company is I actually make videos for different parts of the HR department. Like if we're working on kind of any projects, so for example the onboarding that we do, I actually made a video to help to guide new employees who come into the company around a platform that we have with all of the information regarding onboarding. So it's just more interactive and easier. So it was actually fun working on that and working with my colleague as well to make that happen. Also, like volunteering day. So at the moment I'm part of like a volunteering day project that we're having as a whole for the whole of Northern Europe for my company, which is really great to get involved in, because we have to think creatively on how we want to promote it and what kind of posts we want to put out there. And I'm also going to be involved in like a performance management project as well with the HR team in future. So we're kind of understanding what we can do to help improve the performance management and kind of like help managers to be more trained and aware on how they can target performance management with their employees in the best way. So there is so much going on as a HR administrator, as you can see. So many different areas that you've got to focus on, so many different areas that we are involved in, and what we do on the basis actually has a knock-on effect for majority of departments within the company. So our role is very important. So that's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching this video. The next episode is actually going to be based on time management as a HR administrator, because I know I've just thrown so much information at you about what we do. So how do you manage your time, I hear you ask? Stay tuned, because next week I'm going to be giving you a video based on that. So I hope you've taken away a lot of knowledge and understanding about what a HR administrator does. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one.